So here we are over at the Warrior Workstation. Try to make it look as tidy as possible there. And you can see that we actually have a grinder just for our coffee beans. This is for you people that might want to really start getting into this. But what one of these little hand mills does, it's actually a mill. It actually kind of slices the coffee beans rather than just pulverizing them, so it makes for a much nicer effect on it, and really brings all the flavors out too. So we have our little drip filter here too. You'll notice that if people are doing this properly, the originals were all done drip filter style. You wouldn't use this as much in like an espresso machine, though I will be doing a video perhaps that I've got a couple of friends that run coffee shops down here in Toronto, and I've perfected another one I call the Gladiator that comes out of an espresso machine. So right now we're using Kicking Horse coffee. Awesome. And got all the stuff we need here. You do need a blender, and so for step one, Felisa, make sure you got hot water. Make sure it's nice and hot as you can get it, and pre-fill up whatever thing you're using for the blender so that it's warm, and that way you can keep a nice even temperature to your coffee before you drink it, because you want to drink this stuff really nice and fresh. So alright, cool. So I'm going to have to use my wonderful water filter there. It's a hand pump to get some fresh water first, so you want to start with some fresh water. So move all this out of the way. So Felisa, if you don't have filtered water, or at least some distilled water, I know you can't see my face, but it don't matter because I'm actually showing the video, you can get one of these hand pumps and you can make your own filtered water, so it at least takes out all the smell and a lot of the chemicals. And definitely for those people that are worried about bacteria and stuff, these have like a really fine filter on them that even takes out bacteria and other stuff. So tap water turns into better water anyway. I won't say it's like perfect, it's not like having a gravity filter, but it definitely will make your coffee taste way better. So we're going to pump enough so that we have enough for about 2 cups of coffee. Probably helps to have some good tunes going too. There. Didn't cost me a dime. I'm actually going to do enough for 2. So I know with mine, this little pour flask, because the other one spills a lot, that this is the perfect amount of water. That I must have been second sense there. And we're going to pour it in here because we heated it up on the stove, because we don't have a kettle, we just moved in. And the other thing is, this very rarely gets used, and highly recommend just avoiding use of it altogether and just start going old school, because it's better for you. Okay, cool. So we got our water in there. We're on the back burner. I put it on the smaller burner personally because it actually takes a little bit longer for it to start boiling, because it just doesn't have as much surface area. Just want to watch that. You don't actually want it to boil, so just keep your eye on it, and when you start seeing little bubbles start forming and start to come up, that's when it's about the right temperature. So you don't want it to boil, because if you put too hot of water through the awesome beans, you're going to ruin it because it'll make it really bitter. So you want to do this all nice and slow. Very zen. Okay, so we're going to go back through what we did, do a recap. Put hot water in your blender for later. Make sure you got your cups out. You got to have something to put your butter and your coconut oil in, which we have a nice flask here. It looks all cool, but hey, you can use that if you want as well. And yeah, you have to have like nice pure water, because if you're using it out of the tap, that's going to make it taste really funky and it's not good. So for those people that are drinking all your Tim Hortons stuff, just gotta get your palate maybe worked up, although I know many people get rabidly defensive about Tim Hortons. So yeah, definitely get a nice little mill there, and I'm going to actually do that right now. So we're letting the water heat. While it's heating, we're going to be grinding our beans, and we've already got our blender all ready. And also you want to take your butter, organic butter, grass-fed, and you'll note that I keep my virgin coconut oil up here because it's right beside the fridge, and the coils in the back of the fridge heat the side of the cupboard and keep it just above room temperature, and therefore I don't have to dig it out with a spoon and I can pour it. So we're back because I still had to do some more prep work. Like, I'm sure you don't need to see me unwrapping all the butter and everything. So the amount of butter while we're waiting for that to boil, this is one of those little half ones. For 2 cups, this is what I put in. It's kind of like the chef, you know, they say they're putting in 2 tablespoons. It might be more or less, it's their own personal preference, but that's how much I like for 2 cups of coffee. And then because I had the coconut oil beside the fridge, I can just go like this now. Just a little bit. I prefer to use about the same amount or half of the amount of coconut oil because it does have a much stronger taste than the actual butter. And yeah, cool. So now we're going to move on to this, and we are going to mill our beans. And we're still checking this out. See, there's little tiny bubbles forming so far, but no big ones yet. So you just got to keep it on that because you don't want the water to boil. Sweet. So we did our butter. We did our coconut oil. Now we're going to grind this. This one, I used to think it was a pain, but I'm actually getting to like it because, again, that's like a process, right? So you're going to put it in the top of it. So, and I'm going to read you the Kicking Horse coffee story too, because it's really funny, and so far people have been amused by it. So I'm going to read that in between here. And just so people know, don't worry about timing how long it took the water to boil or anything like that, because I actually have it turned off now because I knew it was going to boil too fast, because I'm explaining all this in between, so it's just sitting there. So first we got to do the legend of Kicking Horse coffee, because as you go and get more into this stuff, you're going to want to, it kind of turns into like a religion, because you got to go and find different coffee and taste different stuff. So the legend is, in the summer of 1858, James Hector set out to discover the Kicking Horse Valley. His expedition took him through some of the most beautiful and rugged country in the West. During a river crossing, one of the pack horses kicked poor Hector so hard that others in the expedition mistook him for dead. As they began to bury poor old James, they noticed his eye twitch. The legend says it was a stiff cup of kick-ass coffee that brought him back to life. I do recommend it. It's pretty good. So, there we go. So we've got our beans out there. And I'm not even going to stop it. Alright, cool. So you got to put your thing back on. And you're milling your stuff. And I'll get back to you when I'm done, because this takes a little while. Alright, we're almost done. You'll know when you're done when you hear it stop grinding. Listen, we're at the last few. And then all of a sudden, this isn't good sound. We're done. Sweet. And there you got it. So it's not too fine and it's not too coarse, because we use this awesome mill. This one's called a GSI Outdoors, and I think that my brother Luke got it from Mac. Sweet. So we've already got all of our stuff in here. Okay, we got our butter, coconut oil, and then we put our filter in the top, making sure it's the right way up. Pour it in, and then we just make sure that our water's just the right temperature. It's almost there. We're thinking of getting a heat gun from Home Hardware, so we can just have it and just go, just tell exactly what the temperature is. And a good friend of mine also has a kettle that has a metal interior, no plastic and everything, and it actually heats it to whatever temperature you want. You can set it so in Fahrenheit or in Celsius, and it tells you exactly, because he's a big tea drinker. So awesome. It's almost there. We're thinking of getting a heat gun from Home Hardware, so we can just have it and just go just tell exactly what the temperature is. And a good friend of mine also has a kettle that has a metal interior, no plastic and everything, and it actually heats it to whatever temperature you want. You can set it so in Fahrenheit or in Celsius, and it tells you exactly, because he's a big tea drinker. So awesome. Gotta have some good tunes too, folks. Come on. Making coffee is a morning ritual. Should be nice and relaxing, not a rush trying to get ready to go for work. So it's a nice little practice for consciousness or presence or whatever you want to call it. It's almost there. It's almost perfect. See the steam coming off now, and that's where we're going to chop her. Sweet. Almost. So here we go. We're going to take the nice hot water and obviously put it into a container. It's a little easier to pour from so you don't burn yourself. We know it's exactly the right kind, the right amount because we measured it previously. And I'm going to do this from up here actually, so that you can actually see what's going on. So we're just slowly pouring it. And again, it's got, you should do this drip. You can do it in a French press, but it just doesn't taste the same. So highly recommend doing it this way. And you can see we're already starting to melt that wonderful butter and the coconut oil. You can see the oil droplets cooling. Hey, by the way, that's how fat travels around in your bloodstream too. It gets broken down in your gut, and then it gets taken out into your bloodstream through your portal vein. And these big spaceship kind of things come through, and they're called chylomicrons, and they pick up all the little water droplets that are micronized, and they fly it around your bloodstream and drop it off in all the places that it's needed, which is basically everywhere in your body, because every cell in your body has a component of fat. So we just want to keep going like this until, and I know there's a little dot because this thing is specifically made for this. See, there's a little dot there, and if we fill it up to that, you're going to get 2 perfect cups of coffee. Just checking where we're at. So here we go. So I'm going to get my hot water poured out of my blender, and your blender's definitely probably going to be better than mine, because we got this off of Garage for 15 bucks, so don't mind the noise. Our other one's in the shop. Cool, so we finished doing that. It's all drip free, and so we don't make a mess. It's cool. And when you're doing this, make sure you got a, it's really hot, so obviously we got a proper handle on ours. And here we go. So we're going to fill it up. You want to swirl it around too, so that you get all the fat agitated into the coffee, so none of it remains in here. Right? And here we go. This is Django Radio I'm listening to, by the way. It's some kind of like morning Zen mix or something like that, but this is going to be loud. Done. And for those of you that asked on my picture posts, You just got to start the blender off really slow at the beginning with the pulse feature. You just kind of got to go until it really gets going, and then you put it on high, and then you won't get splashed. You just got to be patient and not try to blast it out of there. So I got to get that pointed. There you go, Felica. How to make a warrior. You may also see it online as bulletproof coffee, and make sure it's nice and frothy when you're pouring it. There we go. Let me know how you like the video.